He didn't make a speech. He didn't hold a press conference. He didn't announce a new economic policy from a podium with cameras rolling. Instead, Prime Minister Mohammed Shia Al-Sudani just did something far more significant. He quietly, methodically, and absolutely deliberately changed the entire conversation around the Iraqi dinar, and almost nobody noticed. While the financial press remains fixated on the parallel market rate bouncing between 1,500 and 1,570 dinar to the dollar, while the headlines scream about trader protests and currency volatility, while the talking heads on television declare that the dinar is collapsing, the Prime Minister has been silently assembling the architecture of a fundamentally different monetary future. This is not about today's exchange rate. This is about the destruction of the economic model that created today's exchange rate in the first place. Let me take you inside the shift that the mainstream coverage is completely missing. On February 5th, Central Bank Governor Ali Al-Laq sat down with the United States Chargé d'Affaires Joshua Harris in Baghdad. The official readout was brief, professional, and utterly unremarkable to the casual observer. They discussed banking reform. They discussed stabilizing external transfer operations. They discussed regulating dollar sales in line with international best practices. Harris affirmed America's full readiness to continue supporting the efforts of the Central Bank of Iraq. This sounds like routine diplomatic boilerplate. It is not. This meeting was the public face of a quiet war that Sudani has been waging since he took office. The war against the parallel economy. The war against the smuggling networks that have bled Iraq dry for 2 decades. The war against the political elites who built their fortunes on the arbitrage between the official rate and the black market rate. And here is what the Prime Minister understands that the critics do not. You cannot defeat a parallel economy with press releases. You defeat it with infrastructure. You defeat it with systems that make evasion impossible. You defeat it by changing the fundamental incentives of the marketplace so that operating outside the formal economy becomes more expensive, more difficult, and more dangerous than operating inside it. This is exactly what Sudani has been doing, quietly, methodically, without fanfare, for months. Consider the Asakuta customs system. This United Nations-backed electronic platform for border control and tariff collection has been the subject of furious protests from Baghdad's wholesale traders. They shut down their shops. They hung banners declaring that customs fees are killing citizens. They demanded the government abandon the system entirely. The Prime Minister's response was not a speech, it was a decision. The government rejected the demands. It refused to cancel Asakuta. It announced that revenues from the system exceeded 137 billion Iraqi dinars in January alone, and that collections are expected to rise further. This is not the behavior of a weak Prime Minister capitulating to street pressure. This is the behavior of a leader who understands that the old Iraq, the Iraq of smuggled goods and falsified customs documents and dollars leaking across unmonitored borders, is a parasite on the nation's economic future. He is killing the parasite, and the parasite is screaming. Let me decode the language being used by the political establishment, because it reveals exactly how thoroughly Sudani has changed the terms of debate. MP Shagadi Al-Zaidi, a member of the Prime Minister's own construction and development coalition, did not apologize for the customs reforms. He did not offer concessions. He accused the protesting traders of attempting to muddy the waters and stated unequivocally that the government would not reverse its implementation of Asakuta. Baha al-Araji, head of the bloc, went further. He explained that many traders previously imported goods through the Kurdistan region, where customs duties were lower and revenues did not reach the federal government. Under the new unified system, traders are now paying customs duties everywhere, including at crossings in the Kurdistan region. He stated that objections were motivated by private interests rather than the public good. Read those words carefully. A senior Iraqi political leader just accused fellow businessmen of placing private interests above the public good. This is not the language of a government apologizing for its policies. This is the language of a government defending a structural transformation. And it is not only customs. The Prime Minister has also ordered the formation of a committee to coordinate with the Kurdistan region tax authorities to unify tax procedures and address double taxation and tax evasion. The explicit goal is to increase non-oil revenues. This is the quiet revolution. Not a single dramatic announcement, but dozens of incremental, irreversible administrative changes that collectively make it impossible to return to the old system. Now, let me address the elephant in the room that the Sudani strategy is designed to eliminate: the parallel market, the street rate, the 1,570 dinar that retirees like Saad Altai must accept when they convert their pensions, watching their purchasing power shrink month by month. The conventional narrative is that the parallel market is evidence of the dinar's weakness. This is backward. The parallel market is evidence of the old system's desperation. It is the death rattle of an economic model built on opacity, evasion, and illicit capital flight. Consider what the central bank's financial advisor, Musar Saleh, actually said. He stated that the fundamental reason for the depreciation is external constraints. He explained that Iraqi banks must now register dollar transfers on an online platform that reviews transfer requests. The U.S. Federal Reserve examines these requests, and if there are any suspicions about the final destination, it stops the transfer. Since the adoption of this mechanism, the Federal Reserve has blocked about 80% of transfer requests due to doubts over where the money was actually going. Economist Ahmed Tabakali said it plainly: contrary to current misconceptions, rumors, and misinformation, there is no evidence of U.S. pressure on Iraq. The new regulations require high levels of disclosure and transparency. This came as a shock for many of our banks, who were not used to this. Sudani's government is not fighting the new regulations, it is embracing them. It is using them as cover to do what previous governments lacked the political capital to do: clean up the banking sector, force compliance with international standards, and starve the parallel economy of the dollars that sustained it. This is why Governor-elect's February 10th interview with Ruda is the single most important document he will read this month, not because of what he said about the exchange rate, although that is important, but because of what he revealed about the Prime Minister's broader strategy. Alak stated that the central bank is not studying the topic of changing the exchange rate. He called market speculation great confusion and misplaced. He said linking the exchange rate to the budget deficit is an incorrect link. He insisted that the bank's foreign reserves, exceeding $100 billion with over 76 tons of gold, are at a very comfortable level. The Dinar community has been debating whether these statements are truthful or deceptive. That is the wrong question. The question is whether Alak's statements are consistent with Sudani's strategy. And they are perfectly, precisely, deliberately consistent. The Prime Minister does not want a currency revaluation today. He does not want an exchange rate adjustment announced, while the parallel economy still has access to dollars through illicit channels. He does not want to watch the value of the dinar surge only to have that value arbitraged away by the same smuggling networks that have been bleeding the country dry. He wants the infrastructure first. He wants the customs system fully implemented. He wants the tax system transparent and enforceable. He wants the banking sector compliant with SWIFT and FATF standards. He wants the parallel market starved of the illicit dollars that keep it alive. He wants the leakage stopped, the borders sealed, the evasion ended. Only then, when the old economy is dead and buried, will he permit the new exchange rate that reflects the new reality. This is why Alak's statements about the money supply are so revealing. He disclosed that Iraq's issued currency is approximately 100 trillion dinars. More than 80% of this exists outside the banking system. He attributed this not to a lack of liquidity, not to a cash shortage, but primarily the tax evasion and non-disclosure of revenue, profits, and income, especially in the trade sector. 80% of the currency circulating outside the banks, 80% of the dinar supply invisible to the tax authorities, and traceable by the financial intelligence units. Unavailable for productive lending and investment, this is not a monetary problem, it is a governance problem, and Sudani is solving it. Alak explained the linkage explicitly. If money owners feel reassured about the existence of a fair and transparent tax system, they will bring their money and deposit it in banks. The government is now building the system that will provide that reassurance. The Al-Sudani customs platform, the unified tariff structure, the coordination with Kurdistan region tax authorities, the electronic transfer monitoring, the Federal Reserve compliance reviews. Every single one of these initiatives is a message to the holders of that 80%. The era of invisibility is ending. The era of evasion is closing. The safe harbor for undeclared wealth is being dismantled. This is what the Prime Minister changed quietly. He shifted the conversation from the exchange rate to the infrastructure that supports the exchange rate. He reframed the debate from the price of the currency to the integrity of the system that gives that price meaning. The traders protesting in Baghdad understand this perfectly. They are not protesting because the customs tariffs are too high. They are protesting because the customs tariffs are finally being collected. They are not demanding the Al-Sudani system be cancelled because it is inefficient. They are demanding it be cancelled because it is effective. They are not losing money because the exchange rate is unfair. They are losing money because the arbitrage window, the gap between the official rate they claimed and the parallel rate they actually used, has been slammed shut. The General Authority of Customs announced that revenues exceeded 137 billion dinars in January. They stated that the reality is entirely the opposite of social media claims that the new tariff caused revenue losses. They expect revenues to rise further following a reduction of the value rate in the Al-Sudani system to 25%, alongside measures to accelerate customs procedures, more revenue, less leakage, greater transparency, stronger governance. This is the Sudani formula. It does not generate dramatic headlines. It does not satisfy investors demanding an immediate revaluation, but it is the essential precondition for any durable, sustainable increase in the currency's value. Now, let me address the objection that is forming in your mind. If Sudani's strategy is so brilliant, why is the parallel market rate still hovering around 1,500 to 1,570? Why did Al-Sharqiya report on February 8 that the dollar exchange rate had risen to exceed 150? 0 dinars per $100 in the Al-Khaifa and Al-Harithia exchanges? Because the patient is still in surgery. The infection is being cut out, but the wound is still open. The illicit networks that controlled the dollar auctions for years are not surrendering quietly. They are using every remaining channel to acquire hard currency before those channels are permanently sealed. The demand for dollars on the parallel market is not evidence that the parallel market is healthy. It is evidence that the parallel market is terminal and its operators are desperately trying to extract whatever value they can before the system is shut down for good. This is why the central bank's directive to convert bull sector contractor payments from dollars to dinars at the official rate has provoked such fury. Economist Nabi al-Marsumi warned that more than 200 Iraqi companies contracted with oil licensing firms, employing over 50,000 Iraqi workers, face the risk of significant financial losses. Their contracts and expenses are denominated in dollars, but they are being paid in dinars at 1,320, while their costs on the ground are priced at the parallel rate of 1,550. These companies are collateral damage in the war against the parallel economy. Some will adapt. Some will fail. Some will be replaced by firms willing to operate entirely in dinars. Energy expert Ahmed Saba noted that the central bank's policy could lead to the gradual exclusion of some foreign companies in favor of local firms or those willing to deal in dinars. He described the measure as a transitional regulatory step that may be temporary and subject to change if negative effects emerge. Temporary, transitional, subject to change. This is the language of a government that knows exactly where it is going and is willing to accept short-term pain for long-term structural gain. The Prime Minister's quiet revolution extends even to Iraq's international financial positioning. The February 5th meeting between Alak and Harris was not merely about compliance and enforcement. It was about demonstrating to the United States Treasury and the Federal Reserve that Iraq is now a responsible, transparent, cooperative partner in the global financial system. Harris affirmed America's full readiness to continue supporting the efforts of the Central Bank of Iraq, enabling it to achieve its goals in enhancing financial and monetary stability. This support is not abstract. It is the key that unlocks deeper integration with the international banking system. It is the certification that Iraq is no longer a high-risk jurisdiction for correspondent banking relationships. It is the precondition for the day when the new exchange rate is announced and the world's financial institutions are prepared to honor it. Now, let me speak directly to your patience. I know you have been waiting for years. I know you have watched the official rate remain frozen while the parallel rate bounces and the headlines scream volatility. I know you have endured the skepticism of friends and family who cannot understand why you still hold dinar. The Prime Minister is asking for a little more patience. But he is not asking you to wait blindly. He is showing you, quietly and without fanfare, exactly what he is building. He is building a customs system that captures revenue instead of losing it. He is building a tax system that collects from the wealthy instead of exempting them. He is building a banking system that complies with international standards instead of evading them. He is building a currency regime that reflects the true value of the Iraqi economy instead of the distortions of the smuggling networks. The exchange rate will change when the infrastructure is ready. The revaluation will come when the parallel economy is dead. The dinar will rise when the system that suppresses it has been dismantled. Sudani changed the conversation from when to how. He changed the focus from the destination to the journey. He changed the strategy from waiting for a miracle to building the machine that will make miracles routine. The traders are protesting because they see the machine coming for them. The banks are complying because they see the machine is unstoppable. The United States is supporting because they see the machine is legitimate. The Prime Minister is silent because he knows the machine speaks for itself. And when the machine is complete, when the customs system covers every border, when the tax system reaches every business, when the banking system monitors every transfer, when the parallel market has no dollars left to trade, then the conversation will change again. Then, quietly, without a press conference, without a podium, without cameras rolling, the official rate will adjust, and the dinar will finally reflect the nation it actually represents. The Prime Minister changed the conversation. The rest of us are just waiting for the conclusion he has already written.